Welcome to Notebook, a program of interest to the St. Lucie County community that features information about St. Lucie County schools. Guests include school district and community leaders with focus on children in our community.
Hello and welcome to the new edition of Notebook, and we're so glad that you are here to join us today, and we are looking forward to this next half hour of joining with some friends, some old friends and some new friends to find out some great things that are happening here around the Treasure Coast. And part of the show of Notebook is really just connecting you, our viewers, with community officials, school district personnel, and other organizations from around the Treasure Coast. And today we have a special friend who is no stranger to our studio, but maybe new to some of you, is the co-founder of Grace Packs, and that's Laura Klosterman. And thanks for being with us today.
Thank you for having us.
And along next to her is the volunteer coordinator, Judy Castaldo.
Yes.
And we're going to be finding out some more today about some new things that are happening with Grace Packs, which we are very excited, some great news that you're going to be able to share with us, but also the lives that you are touching each and every day in what you do. And we're just so thankful to have you here with us, especially as the holidays approach. We know this is especially sometimes a more difficult time for families who may be food insecure. And we're going to talk about what food insecurity actually is, because that's kind of a new term for some people and what that means. But before we do that, I always love to have our guests share a little bit about themselves, just because it's a great way to kind of connect you to the people who are watching. So Laura, let's start with you, and if you would just give us a little bit of your background and how did you come to be the co-founder of this particular organization?
Well, I started out as a teacher at Okamic, and I noticed that a few of my students were experiencing hunger, and so I just really felt led after hearing a lady at my church, Angie Walsh, speak about a program she felt led to start at Manatee, and Sunlight Community Church had supported her in that effort. And so we began with just a couple little girls at our school, and teachers started helping us, and it sort of grew from there. And that was back in October of 2011. And our co-founder, Lisa Farrick, and she was our cafeteria manager, and she was seeing the different side of things. She was seeing kids as they came through the lunch line. Some kids were taking food because they were so hungry they would put it in their pockets. They wanted to take it home to share with their family members. And so we both felt that call from God really to start this program. And so Okamic is still continuing as our longest running school. And so that's kind of how everything began.
Now, have you retired since, or have you just kind of left the teaching field and just felt led to do this full time? Is that kind of where you are?
Yes, that's exactly what happened. After a couple years, the newspaper covered us, and we went to 2 schools and then 4. And it was getting apparent that I couldn't completely be teaching and directing Grace Packs.
Right.
And so I was very close to retirement, but just a couple years away, and so I just resigned at the end of the school year in 2013. And so I'm so pleased now to be able to be one of the leaders in the Grace Packs program.
Great, very good. That's exciting. Well,
Yes.
I can't wait to hear more of some of the things that you've shared. Just the new things coming around the corner and that are here. So we'll get ready to share that. But let's find out a little, Judy, let's find out a little bit about you. I know you are currently the volunteer coordinator.
Yes, I am.
So how did you come into that particular position?
Well, it's an interesting story. We just moved here a year ago from Long Island.
Oh, wow.
And when I was in Long Island, I was part of the pantry after I retired up in our church up on Long Island. And I was asked to volunteer here at Calvary Church to do a food packing, which Laura used, well, they still do. They hold their food packings there. And while we were there, I overheard Laura mention, she was speaking with someone, that she went to Sunlight Community Church. And I thought, oh, wow, I've never seen Laura. That's where we're going now. So I went on to speak to her about the ministry. It's interesting because I've always had a desire, and my heart was for children who are hungry. I was brought up in Queens, New York, and my father was a restaurateur and a chef.
Wow.
So I always had this feeling that no child should ever go hungry. So when I did retire, I said, I need to do something with children and to be sure that they are fed. Did not realize the extent of the hunger here in Florida. It came as such a surprise to me. And you mentioned the food insecurity. Never heard that term. So when I spoke with Laura, I just knew that I had to be a part of this and help her along whichever way she needed my help.
Right.
So
Yeah, that's awesome. Very good. And then what did you do prior to being retired?
my husband and I had a printing and advertising business.
Very good.
And then I worked for the library for 10 years after we sold our business. And then I said,
And then-
okay,
yeah.
that's it. I'm retiring and I want to do something good in the
To
community.
make a difference.
Yeah.
Yeah. Very good. Very excited. Well, good to have you.
Thank you.
And Laura, just tell us a little bit about how the Grace Pack works, because I know, when we talk about a pantry, but you have a system of how this is done. So share with us kind of, if a parent were to find out, okay, what is Grace Packs? What would you share with them?
Well, I would share that we all in our lives need a little bit extra help every now and again. And so we know that with food insecure kids here in our county, Feeding America stats tell us that in this county, St. Lucie County, there are 14,300 kids that are currently considered food insecure. And a food insecure person is generally described as one who does not know from where his or her next meal will come. And so we know that being in need is very difficult for parents, especially because they want their kids to have food. And so we're in 23 schools right now, and often a parent, when they find out that their child's school has a program, will call in and ask if their child can be considered. But we also have really any school member, whether it's a bus driver, a cafeteria manager, teacher, anyone in the school can nominate a child. And if a sibling is nominated, then any sibling going to that school can also receive Grace Packs. And a gentle letter is sent home just asking, are you willing to have your child participate in this? Because we would never want to offend anyone. And often we will get a positive response, and then that child or those children will be added to the list. Then each Friday, a pack of food will be sent home with the children, and they include anything from lunch items, dinner items, breakfast, 2 breakfast items for the weekend, snacks and juice, fruit, because we want to give children shelf-stable items,
Right.
but we want to give them a nice variety, so that they can enjoy having food over the weekends.
Right. Oh, wow. And what's amazing to me is I remember the first time that you were on the show, you were in 5 schools, and you just said 23. And
Yes.
that's amazing. And I think
It is
It's amazing.
I think last year when you were here, I looked back on my schedule or my notes, and I think you were in 15. So each year, wow,
Yes.
that's amazing,
Expanding.
the growth and the
Yeah.
difference that you're making. So at the end of the day, how does that work for you to, I know you prefer to do things a little discreetly and maybe not bringing attention to the students, to single them out or make them feel, because I know we've talked about that, how important that is. So at the end of the day, typically, how would that food be transferred to the students? How does that work?
It works, every school has its own resources.
Right.
And so we know that there are different places in the school that may be more convenient for one school and maybe not so much for another school. And so I'll speak for Okamic. The nurses' clinic is right near the bus loading zone. And so the younger students, the pre-K through 5th grade students, go to the clinic at the end of the day on Friday to receive Grace Packs. And then the older kids, we know it would be more embarrassing. And we know that some kids are very cautious about being seen carrying that bag of food. And so those kids, at least at Okamic, go to the media center, you know, where any child would be in the media center.
Right.
And so we know that each of our schools chooses the best location. We have a lot of teachers that have just hearts of gold that want to make it easier. So some teachers will even keep grace packs in their room at the end of the day if they know an older student is in their classroom. So I think it's just a matter of using the resources at the
you have,
school.
right.
Absolutely.
Right, very good. And Judy, I know since you're over the volunteers, typically how many meals would you say you do a week?
A week, we've been doing about 200 a week.
Right.
Right at this moment.
Right.
We expect to have more as time goes on.
Right.
After the holidays, we'll probably have more.
More, right,
Yeah.
right.
And yeah, it's been a wonderful experience for all those who have volunteered, and we've had a wonderful outpouring from the community. People who are so willing to give of their time. And I especially noticed, which I think I shared with you this morning, Laura, that many of the teachers want to do this. We have a lot of volunteers that are former teachers, and they realize the importance of feeding these children. They have such a heart for them. So it's been such a pleasure to work with these volunteers.
And how many volunteers right now would you say you probably
We have so many that there even more are coming because there was an article in one of our local magazines.
Wonderful.
Better Living, I believe is the name of it.
Better Living Marketplace.
And yes, and they we've gotten calls, and as a matter of fact, we had people there this morning who answered the call, and it keeps happening. We keep getting people who are interested
Very
in
good.
volunteering their time.
Very good.
Yeah.
And as it continues to grow, probably the next time I see you, it'll be double the 23. So
It probably
yeah,
will.
That would be so awesome.
It would be.
So as we talked about the holidays approaching, and you know that's always a tough time for many families. And I know that we have pantries set up at each school, but you have some really exciting news because you have expanded even further with that. So tell us about your new location.
Yes, we're really thrilled to have our Grace Pack Central location. We call it GPCL. But we are located at Sunlight Community Church at 477 Southwest Kashmir, and they have given us a beautiful pantry. The way we were doing things before worked for a while. We would deliver food. We would go to Sam's and BJ's and Walmart and deliver food to each school week after week. And each school has maintained its own pantry over the years, and then they have found their own school resources to pack. But it took on a life of its own. It was very difficult. We were up to just over 600 students as the year ended last year. And it became very difficult to sustain those deliveries week after week in all those schools. And so we're really thrilled that Sunlight has given us this location. It's such a blessing. And so now we have Cisco delivering to us, and then we also do smaller shopping trips to the stores because we want to be very wise with our donors' gifts, and we want to get the best prices. So the way we're doing it now, the schools are maintaining their pantries, but not for single items. They are keeping their pantries so that when we pack, and as Judy mentioned, 200, we pack 200 a week, but we're up to 587 students a week. So we pack ahead of time, and we've been doing that. And so then we take those packed Grace Packs, and these volunteers are amazing because some of them are delivering 65 packs in their vehicles a week to the schools. And so that's a big undertaking.
Sure.
You know,
It really is.
those are special people that on Tuesdays want to deliver to the schools.
And using their own vehicles.
Yes,
and
volunteering
using their own
all
vehicle.
that time.
Yes.
Absolutely.
Wow.
And that is the area where we probably need more volunteers. And I would say if we could get some men with muscle, that would be wonderful.
Absolutely.
So we're doing a call for all the men
Yes.
who can help out with the cars and the
Right.
transportation,
Yes.
you know, and transferring all of
Absolutely.
the meals and things.
Yeah.
That's awesome. And as you're working through the pantry, tell us some things that would really help the most. What are some things that people could volunteer to bring? You know, if someone wanted to, you know, hey, I just heard about Grace Packs, I want to, you know, provide some food, you know, and give that to you as a gift,
Yeah.
what could they bring? What are some things that
I
they
love
could-
that question
Yes.
because we want to sustain we want to confidentially give our kids food week after week. And as our numbers increase, we see that need of getting the word out that there is hunger in our community and that we do need food items. One of the things that we really need a lot of are entrees. And I'm using that in quotes. Things that we would not consider a main meal, but yet for a child who's taking home a grace pack, who maybe only has hot meals during the week when school is in,
right.
and little or no food at home, some of these entrees that we're really requesting are soups, jars of peanut butter, tuna, Chef Boyardee items, anything that would be substantial for a child. Beef stew. Have I forgotten
Any of
anything?
the chicken, the cans of
Cans of
chicken.
chicken.
Right.
Protein items we would like to see. And of course, rice is sustaining, so
Right.
rice is
Absolutely.
always good.
A good one.
And beans. So items that will just sustain them and are healthier.
Right.
Some are healthier than others. Children love, we were just discussing this morning, they love macaroni and cheese.
Oh, you can never go wrong with mac and
You
cheese.
can't. Not the healthiest, but they
Yeah.
love it. That's,
Yeah.
that's their favorite. So,
And the one thing that I always remember when I worked in food pantries, in the past is, not to give away things that are outdated or
Oh,
something
absolutely.
that you wouldn't eat yourself.
Absolutely.
Occasionally you'll come across that. I can remember in working with pantries in the past that,
Yeah.
there's a date that's 2 or 3 years old. Well, you wouldn't eat that. So, be sure that you're giving something that, is going to
Yeah.
be worthy of a donation. And speaking of donations, not just the food donations, but also you have a new way that people can actually provide monetary donations. So tell us a
Yes.
little bit about that.
Yes, absolutely. We welcome people to go onto our website, it's gracepacks.org, and go to our PayPal. And we know that that's a secure and really an immediate way to make a difference. None of us are being paid, none of us take a salary, and I think it's important to tell our community that because we want them to know that if they choose to donate financially through our PayPal, it's an immediate way for us to turn those gifts right back into food items. And those are our costs. Sunlight is providing this space for us, so I would say most of our money goes straight for food, for juice, and then for some office supplies because we will always want to follow up with our community members with thank yous. And we also have a website, so we want to continue to keep that up to date. But other than that, those are our costs right now. And we would really welcome any gifts that way as well.
Absolutely. And speaking of going kind of back to the volunteer piece too, do you have certain days that you actually pack? How
Yes.
does that work?
we're packing on Wednesdays.
Okay.
And we start at 11 o'clock. And we do all our packing at Sunlight. And on Tuesdays, the following Tuesdays, we will make that delivery. Sometimes Wednesday morning also. The space, isn't that large,
Right.
so we need to just have enough. We have to separate it.
Okay.
And but we have a wonderful pantry, and again, we've been getting the food out, and just great volunteers that are
Right.
committed.
So if someone was watching and they just decided, you know what, I want to do this, I want to come and I want to show up on Wednesday, how would they become a volunteer? What would they need to do?
To call me,
Okay?
and shall I give my number?
Absolutely. If you're okay with that.
Yeah, I'm okay with it.
Okay.
They can call me at 631 278-0899. I almost gave my husband.
It's hard because you don't call yourself. So,
Yeah, I
this
always
is
gave my
yeah.
husband's. I'll repeat it. It's 631-278-0899. And I'd be happy to take your call and discuss it with you.
Yeah, because anytime that you hear of something that's touching the community, especially when you're talking about kids, and that someone watching is going to be touched by what you do, and we're just going to hope that we're going to have just so many volunteers you won't know what to do with them.
That would be
which would be
Yes.
which would be an awesome problem.
Yeah.
So the other thing that I wanted to kind of touch on, I know you mentioned that teachers and different school personnel can actually, recommend a child for whatever, but are there any other criteria for a child to be eligible to participate in Grace Packs?
Yes, we want to be responsible stewards, so we just simply ask, and again, we don't know any of the children's names. This is all confidential. We just ask that the children qualify for free or reduced meals through the meal application provided through the school district, and that shows us that there is a need, and then we can proceed with starting the Grace Packs. The parent letter that I mentioned earlier also contains one question for the parents. What are your children's allergies, food allergies?
Right.
And we want to make sure that we never send home anything that the child can't eat.
Right.
And so we special pack those allergy bags, and we label them with the initials, the allergy, the teacher's name.
Wow.
For identification. And so again, then our volunteers are willing to do that.
Yeah.
And then our volunteers that deliver, usually on Tuesdays, sometimes on Wednesdays, are wonderful about making sure the school personnel identify those bags as well, so for safety.
And it's so true. I remember when I was in the, in the classroom, I had students with gluten allergies, they had to have a gluten-free diet. I had several students who were allergic to peanuts, even things that can't even be near peanuts. I can remember, there's some serious things out there, and for you to, be cognizant of that and really taking the time to make sure that the needs are met for every kid, that's really
And
special.
we have one volunteer who brought in food, special foods. She read every label, and she just wants to bring this particular food in for this child who she knows we're going to be packing for. So this is the kind of volunteers we have. They've taken it all to heart, and it's just been wonderful. So.
And just in speaking with that, bringing in those special, items, is really critical. Those
Yes.
aren't generally things that people think to donate because you don't always think about those special dietary needs. So, Laura, maybe mention a few things that maybe could even be brought. Gluten-free desserts. I don't know. What are some of the things that maybe you would suggest?
We would like gluten-free foods. We currently don't yet have a gluten-free child, but we know we always have had, so that's a little odd that we haven't had one yet. I think it's amazing how many things that are produced in factories that may have peanuts or may have soy products or wheat products. And so I'm thinking if a person wanted to, one of our allergies is peanuts. So perhaps if they wanted to donate any food after reading all of the ingredients, even if so that they're not made in a factory that has those things. We also have children that have dairy allergies, and so often factories have packed other foods.
There, right?
Oh yeah.
So, and even soups have dairy products in them, and so if persons wanted to select something, maybe they've had an issue with it, and they know what they cannot eat. If they're willing to help us in that way, just as Pat did, that would be amazing.
Sure.
Yeah,
that makes a difference. I know my daughter had severe allergies when she was younger, and it was actually dyes in the foods, and we had to be very, very careful, and we had to read every label, no matter what she had, and that takes time.
Oh,
so,
absolutely.
And it's not easy, especially when financially, you're going through a difficult time, and sometimes those foods aren't.
Exactly, they're
cheap.
much more expensive.
Yeah, they're definitely much more expensive. So just keeping that in mind, and just reminding people, as they're, thinking about what they can donate, to just be thinking about those little extra steps that you can do to make a difference in a kid's life. So, but I just want to thank you both for being here. Thank you for what you do every day.
It's a
Grace
pleasure.
Packs, that the lives you touch each and every day, and what a difference that you're going to continue to make for them throughout their school career, and memories that they will remember forever, and who made a difference for them.
Yes.
So thanks for being with us.
Thank you for having us.
Yes, thank you.
We want to remind everybody, just as they're listening, remember, it's gracepacks.org. Is that correct?
It is.
And we want to remind you to visit if you want information about Grace Packs and how you can get involved. We really encourage you. You want to volunteer, you'd like to donate food items, wherever you can help. Just visit gracepacks.org and get more information, especially during the holidays, and see how you can make a difference this holiday season. Thanks for being with us. We look forward to seeing you next time on Notebook, and have a great day.